Good morning. It's Monday, July 6th, and this is our Monday morning meditation brought to you by Shalom Program Coordinator Mary Potter Kenyon. It wasn't too long after I moved to Dubuque a couple of years ago that I met a mixed media artist who lives and works here in Dubuque. Her name is Allison Poster, and the first time I ever saw her art, I was blown away. I was so drawn to this woman who uses pieces of broken glass and little bits and pieces of jewelry and paint and lace and little cages and old windows, and just creates these beautiful pieces that were speaking to my heart. When I finally met Allison, I told her how much her art had meant to me and how I was drawn to it, and could even imagine myself possibly making a piece someday. It was one of the few kinds of art that I was really drawn to, and she said she would help me. And I told her I had so many little bits and pieces of things from my mother that were just sitting in a drawer, and I wasn't enjoying them. And she said she would help me put together a mixed media piece. And so I brought all these little bits and pieces to her home, and I painted a canvas blue, and I was terrified. I had these bits and pieces, and I had an artist who was willing to help me, and yet I was scared I was going to ruin the pieces that meant something to me, or it was not going to look anything like it was supposed to, or I would fail somehow at making this mixed media piece. And then I realized I'm the one who's always telling everybody to try new things, and it doesn't matter if you fail, and half the fun is just in trying, and it's good for us, and we're all meant to be creative. And I believe that. And so I had to face that fear, and the fear was real, but so was the excitement, because I had all these little pieces of things that reminded me of my mother, and I wanted to be able to see them. And so Allison worked with me, and the result was something that I was very proud of, because it makes me feel good. It makes me smile every time I see it. So I had this painting in the middle that I had done when I was 16 years old, sitting next to her in her workroom. And that meant something to me, because it was time spent with my mother. A pencil she used for some of her own art, her own embroidery on a piece of a pillow. I mean, every little piece on here means something to me and reminds me of my mother. The newspaper clippings, the little wood carving that my brother did using the tools that she used to do, the little tiny glass blown owl that my son did in her workroom, because he's the one who bought her house. So this mixed media piece just meant so much to me that I hang it on my wall and I just smile. And it doesn't matter if somebody else thinks it's good or not. What matters is that now I have this piece of art that reminds me of my mother. So it wasn't too long after I had made this mixed media piece that I met with a friend who had lost their spouse the year before. And as I listened to them talk, I kept hearing the word can't and wouldn't, and I'd never do that. I mean, over and over, I just was hearing these words that meant this person was closed off, which is natural after you lose somebody. But it made me sad. But it also made me think about that mixed media piece, and how much, because I faced that fear and I said yes to something that I'd never done before, and it meant so much to me to see that completed piece, how far I had come since my own spouse had died 7 years before that. And so I was thinking about that and pondering this person's words, and these words can't. And for days, I just was feeling sad about it. And I looked at this piece of art on my wall, and I thought, you know what? Our life is like that. Our life is like a collage with bits and broken pieces of these memories and these bits and pieces of our life that brought us to where we are today, to that defining moment for this person, their spouse's last breath, as it was for me the morning I found my husband had passed away. These defining moments in our lives. And we've got all of these memories, and there's bad memories we'd rather forget about, and there's good and precious memories that we want to hold on to, but all of it all of those bits and pieces is what has made us who we are. And whatever we add in our lives from that point, that defining moment on, it's up to us. And we've all hit a defining moment, haven't we, with the coronavirus? In March, when we were sent home to work, or our children were sent home from school, or we lost a job, or we faced the loss of someone to the virus, we all had a defining moment, a cumulative, shared, defining moment that made our life different. And it's up to us what we're going to do with this. We can keep moving those little bits and pieces around in our life, those things that we're comfortable with, those ways that we're comfortable with, like my friend. And we can add similar things, or we can just stay in that comfort zone. But as long as we are saying, I can't, or I won't, we want to stay in that safe place and that what we're familiar with, we're saying no. As long as we're saying I can't, because God might have something more for us. God might have something bigger for us. God might have plans, and does. We know he has plans through all of this. And as long as we're saying I can't, or I won't, or I never, we might be saying no to God. So I want you to think about this today. I want you to ponder what it is God might be asking of you. Whether it's outside of your comfort zone or inside of your comfort zone, or you have to face a fear to do it. What is it that you feel in here that God might be asking you to do? And then I want you to go and do it. Because as long as we are saying no, as long as we are saying I can't, we cannot make our life a masterpiece, the masterpiece that God intended. So whatever it is, whatever you're feeling led to do, you face that fear, you go and do whatever it is that God is asking you to do so that your life can be the masterpiece that he intended it to be. God bless you. Till next Monday.